The trade deadline is done. The Reds made moves, but was it enough? We're breaking down the trade deadline on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker. And this guy's name is Tim Daniel, Reds postcast host, joining us here. We got a Locked On Reds roundtable wrapping up the crazy trade deadline that was, easy for me to say, for the Cincinnati Reds. And we are going to answer the question, are they better? Because that's all that matters. We'll get into that on today's show in many different ways because the Reds added third baseman Ke'Bryan Hayes and maybe or maybe not got him all of his uniform. The Reds added starting pitcher / relief pitcher Zack Littell. The Reds added infielder, outfielder Miguel Andujar / lefty masher. What's it amount to? The key for this is, where do the Reds go from here? And we'll be discussing that on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Quite frankly, could use a little bit of that. It's been a long day.
Yeah,
Transfusion energy, 5 Hour Energy sounds amazing right now. But I know this.
Hey, Jeff, just real quick before we dive into this, Jeff, I want to shout out. There's a couple guys in the chat right now that were sitting behind me in the seats tonight. Mo, I see you on there. Mo, great to have you on board. The row behind me basically became an everydayer tonight. It's all subscribed. They all subscribe to the show. So I appreciate you guys being here and watching. Mo, thank you very much.
And Steve sat in the diamond seats for anybody that's wondering exactly where that
he didn't throw that detail in, now did he?
Yeah, he omitted that part. Anyway, I think that the Cincinnati Reds got better with all of the moves that they made. Gentlemen, what say you?
Oh, me? Oh, wow. Man, put me on the spot. I'm really anxious.
Earn your keep, brother. Get in there.
Okay, yeah. So realistically, yeah, I do think they got better. I think Ke'Bryan Hayes is going to pay dividends in the long run. I think we saw the beginning of that tonight, honestly. Even with the error, I thought there were things he did tonight that were really good. And
I said Gold Glove defense and man commits a 2-run error. I'm like, yeah, that's on brand. That's on brand. I'm so happy about a guy's glove. What's the thing that fails immediately?
How many cuss words do you think Nick Krall dropped up there in the suite when that error happened? Because I think he had just finished talking to Sadak and Larkin about the defensive upgrades that the team had made, and then Ke'Bryan just absolutely whiffs one.
And then Matt McClain whiffs one right after, and then Spencer Steele can steal a bunt, and you can hear all about that on the postcast. Let's talk about the good stuff.
Wacky game. But I love the Ke'Bryan Hayes move as well. Zack Littell, I think, opens up a lot of flexibility in the pitching staff. And Tim, you and I talked a lot about him too. Steve, what was kind of your thoughts about at least the Zack Littell move in this deadline that actually happened the day before the deadline?
Yeah, I like the move for Littell for a lot of reasons. I do kind of feel a little bit for Nick Martinez in that he kind of shoved in his last start, and then like, oh, by the way, dude, you're in the bullpen. I like this move for stability. I like this move to give the Reds an easy out if Chase Burns hits the innings limit, that whatever it is that they've set for him. They haven't said that number publicly, but we have a good idea that if he continues to be a starting pitcher by the end of August, he's going to run out of innings. They needed to do something. Hunter Green should be back also within that same time frame, pitched in Louisville this week. So this really bolsters this rotation. But what it also does is gives Tito a ton of flexibility with this bullpen. And we saw tonight he needs a ton of flexibility with this bullpen. You know, I look around nicely. And Jeff, I mean, you hit the nail on the head in saying, you know, are the Reds better after the moves they made than they were before they made the moves? So Ke'Bryan Hayes at third base defensively is better than anybody else they were running out there. Noelvi Marte now in right field is light years better than Connor Joe, getting those at-bats and getting that time out there. And Noelvi Marte looked just fine in right field tonight.
He did. Yep.
You know, I hold my breath when the ball gets hit out there, but he went out and caught it. So I'm okay with that. So right field is better. The rotation is better. We have yet to see what the outfield is going to look like with the addition of Andujar. But if you look at his numbers, this is a guy that can hit left-handed pitching fairly well. I know it's a smaller sample size, but he's crushing left-handed pitching right now. You pair him up with Fraley, and you've got yourself a bona fide outfielder platoon, right? Those two guys are a bona fide outfield platoon. So they're better. But you guys have been asking all day, why is everybody so upset? Our group chats have been asking, why is everybody so upset? The comment sections
I'm getting lambasted on
my phone.
I had to get a Twitter for a few hours.
I have had to charge my phone 3 times today because the notifications just keep going and going and going. This is what I know. I understand why people are upset. I'm going to tell you why. I've been thinking about this all day, and that 8th inning at the ballpark tonight was every Reds moment encapsulated in one inning, a 16-run inning, 8 runs, top and bottom. It was everything that this Red season is. And as I'm sitting there thinking about what these offseason or what these trade deadline moves mean to Reds country, the front office, the ownership group have gotten themselves into a business where the ultimate goal each and every year is to raise that World Series trophy. That's the goal. That's the definition of a successful season in Major League Baseball, to win the World Series and hoist that trophy. I feel like these moves that the Reds made at the trade deadline was Nick Krall rolling up his sleeves, taking the little scraps that the Castellini ownership group have given him, and he leaned in and he was chasing that participation trophy. He is going to hoist that participation trophy. They were buyers, by God. They went out and got people. I credit Nick Krall for going and finding deals that you could make within the constraints that the Castellinis are putting on you. Because if you guys want to be mad, Nick Krall is not the guy to be mad at. That's not your dude. Your dude is Phil and Bob Castellini. I was in line tonight with Bob waiting for some ribs, and there was too much people around him for me to get at him, or I would have went and asked some questions. But he looked completely unbothered by everything that's going on around him. He's just happy to be there. So, it's fine, all well and good to be mad at Nick Krall. I think he did what he could do based on what the Castellinis are telling him. The Reds are better. They're better today than they were yesterday. Are they as good as the Padres? Did they do as much as the Padres? Absolutely not. The Padres went all in. They pushed all their chips to the middle of the table to get into that postseason tournament, and I commend them for that. It doesn't mean the Reds are done, but they're going to have to work hard to get there.
I love that Steve's friends are like saying that they can attest to all his comments. His Diamond Club buddies that he has now are in the chat talking about it. So the way Steve's
Diamond Club, that feels like a mobster thing or something.
How do we get in, Jeff?
Where's Cincy shirts? I need some T-shirts. Let's get the Cincy shirts guys on the line. We're doing it.
Billy DeVore works for Cincy shirts. I'm sure he can help you out.
There we go.
So what Steve is basically saying is that, there's that meme of the guy who's like on the panel, like this is like the gold, silver, and he's like shaking the champagne bottle. He's like 6th on the thing. He's like floating up the middle fingers. He's like, yeah, that's what Steve is saying that Nick Krall did here. And it's not wrong per se by any means. So, and I get where you heard from, where people are upset. People are upset because, the big fish, the Reds didn't get the big fish, right? They didn't go get the Eugenio Suarez like we all suspected they possibly could have. They didn't go get the Stephen Kwan that Jeff and I talked about last night. They went and got serviceable guys with controllable contracts, or guys who are going to be off the books at the end of the year. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing to do. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you look at the situation, look at Brian Hayes, you're controlled for him for now another 4 years. He fits the timeline of Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain now. I think that's great for your infield. And then on the other end, if Miguel Andujar doesn't work out, okay, he's gone at the end of the year. If he does work out, maybe he likes it here. And maybe that's what that platoon you have for a long time. And on the fact of Littell, you're also looking at a situation where it's like, I don't want to say it's like Archie Bradley in 20, because I feel like it should be better than that. But it certainly has those vibes where, like, what if he comes in here for a couple months and helps you out and you make a real postseason run, not a COVID postseason run?
Right. And I think that's the key. We've got to understand the goal here. I think that the goal is to get in. Just sneak on in, baby. Like, are we going to bring back that hashtag? Maybe not. But I think that the goal is to just get into the playoffs. And because of the moves that he made and because of how this team is set up, I think that he did that. I'm going to expound on that coming up next. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, lime, and ginger flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I mean, I was down in Kiowa a couple of weeks ago playing golf in the afternoon in South Carolina. Yeah, I was like 95 with 105% humidity, needed some energy. 5-hour energy absolutely came in clutch. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use the promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, those are some fun days too. Get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your everyday routine, whether it's early in the morning with us, whether it's late in the night with us, whether it's after the game with Tim, and everything in between. We're here for you every single day talking Reds baseball. And we did like 4 shows, actually, including this one and Tim's show. Like, I think we're up to like 6 or 7 over the last 48 hours. So it's been a busy couple of days here at the Locked On Reds studios. But we're wrapping up our trade deadline coverage here. And really, I think that the Reds made the right moves to get into the wild card. I think that they added 3 wins today. They didn't add 5. They didn't add 6. I don't think that they're pushing the Cubs and the Brewers for the division, but I think that they're pushing for a wild card spot. I said before the trade deadline, this was an 84-win team. I think they're an 87-win team now. And I think that a part of that is just because of what they did improve. They've been bad at fielding. In fact, if you look at FanGraphs, the team defensive run saved is -6, and they just added 16. And I get it. He committed an error, Brian Hayes, over at third base tonight. So some people are wondering, what's that mean? It's clearly, not one game. We got a lot more left.
You need to be fair to Key Bryan. He was brought in here to hit dingers, and he did his job tonight.
No lies told.
Absolutely.
Didn't strike out either.
Notwithstanding, he improves the defense so much on the infield. I think he helps out Ellie in that regard as well. Then you have Zack Littell and the way that he's able to move Nick Martinez to the bullpen. When Hunter Green comes back, you can approach the idea, and I want to discuss this in a little bit, approach the idea of moving Chase Burns to the bullpen. And with Miguel Andujar, you make the lineup against lefties better because now we have a guy you can turn to against left-handed pitching because you didn't have that before. This team remains horrible against left-handed pitching for like the last 3 or 4 years. And finally, Nick Krall made a move for that guy. And I get it. It's not as sexy as the homer. Chicks love the long ball. Chicks don't really care about platoon splits, but they still matter. And the Reds have completely ignored the left-handed platoon splits for a while. And now we can say that they've actually gone out and done something. Plus, Miguel Andujar does a thing that I don't think that we have said yet, but it is very important because it's addition by subtraction. Because guess where he plays? The corner outfield and the corner infield.
Let's talk about that for a minute. That was a big.
That's the exact thought I had.
That was a big topic of conversation out at the ballpark tonight, Jeff. And let's get into it just for a minute.
With the Diamond Dogs
Gaming in the chat says, Jeff, what should the Reds do with Benson, Fraley, and Connor Joe once TJ comes back from the paternity list? Well, TJ is not really the problem, right? Andujar has to be put on the active roster. I think that's your Connor Joe move. This gets really interesting when TJ Friedl comes back because I think Will Benson's your odd man out. He has options.
Gotta be.
I think they send him down, right?
You're right. I hate it because I love Will Benson, but Jake Fraley's been better.
Yeah, yes. Jake Fraley does take options. But
then you create as I was saying earlier, then you create a platoon player that is Fraley and Andujar. You can work on whatever name you want to give them, Jeff. I know you just chopped a bit for that, but
Andujar. That sounds beautiful.
Doesn't it?
Oh my God! All right,
sounds like going to be the pretty Lord of the Rings. That's a realm of Rohan.
It is. I think it is. It is too early in the morning.
Pull up my Lord of the Rings map.
in your Lord of the Rings stuff. Look, they're going to make a good platoon player, Fraley and Andujar. I think Will Benson's the odd man out there, and then you're kind of looking at what your active roster is. They're not going to cut Santiago Espinal over Tito's dead body. Will they cut Santiago Espinal? So it's pretty much Will Benson. That's really the only easy move to get Fraley back on the active roster.
Well, and Benson's had so few at-bats here recently, and honestly, the at-bats that he's gotten, he has not been very good in. He is back to doing the thing that he does when he struggles, and that is swinging at every fastball that is above his shoulders that he could possibly get the bat around to go through the plane and try and get a strike called against him. So it's tough watching him bat it now. But I will say he played a very admirable center field while TJ Friedl has been out. The catches that he made in that finale against the Dodgers cannot be overlooked. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think he's the odd man out right now. Like the outfield pecking order is clearly TJ Friedl is up there on top. Then you've got Austin Hayes, and he's probably going to DH more than he plays outfield at this point, but he's up there as well. And you've got Noelvi Marte. I think Noelvi Marte has jumped up into the top 3 here because the glove is experimental, but everything else feels right. And then you've got Fraley and Andujar. So he's the 6th man. It's really hard to keep on 6 outfielders on one roster.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Nope, go.
I was going to say the other thing I really like is that the flexibility it brings, like you said. So obviously Andujar taking that Connor Joe spot helps out a ton. We now don't have to worry about Spencer Steer playing left field. We can just go ahead and nix that finally. It's not a thing anymore, hopefully.
Yeah. He's the first baseman, and he should be. I mean, he showed again why tonight. Like he is this team's first baseman.
Yeah. And we can throw out any of these other hypotheses of does Tyler Stevenson play left field ever again? Does Tyler Stevenson play first base? It's all over. We never have to have that conversation ever again, people. Yeah. And so now it's like and you build depth. So like Nicholas says here, what about CES? Like now CES, he probably doesn't factor into game plans. You might be able to, they can do some sort of like waiver wire trade now. Maybe CES is a guy that gets moved, that gets your roster, still gets better. That's not something that's completely out of the realm at this point.
Well, and I think that there's so much control still left with CES that like their message to him needs to be clear this offseason. Get better.
Yeah, figure it out.
Just get better. Like defensively, offensively, like there's talent there. The scouting report is glowing, and that's not who you are. You are not bridging the gap between potential and production right now. And that has been a big reason why this lineup has completely underperformed, because it's clear that Nick Krall bet on him to be the cleanup hitter at the beginning of the season.
Do you guys agree with this? This from Zero Wave in the chat. Marte is the everyday right fielder now. Friedl, everyday center fielder. Fraley, Andu, platoon. Hayes is now your DH. That is probably for most days the way it goes, I think.
Yeah.
I like that because then you have Gavin Lux DH against lefties. You can platoon DH now. So
I think and it's clear that based on where they put Marte in the lineup tonight, that is going to remain true because they're not putting him second in the lineup to be like a platoon guy. They really like what Noelvi Marte has been doing here recently, and he rewarded them. He had a great night. He should have had 4 hits. He had a hard hit line drive to a right fielder that was standing in right center field. It was quite a shift that they had on him there, and they just shifted perfectly. But I love what I've seen from Marte at the plate here recently. And I think that because of what he has done and because of his athleticism, he's got to play every day. And I think that that's another upgrade. It's a smaller upgrade, and you have to squint a little bit to see it. But like you mentioned, Spencer Steer is not the super utility guy anymore. It's now Noelvi Marte, and Noelvi Marte is far more athletic than Spencer Steer is.
100%.
And if you look at what you can do with Marte, I feel like in a very short period of time, he looks pretty comfortable out of position. And everybody, the tendency was to say, well, here we go again, another infielder in the outfield. The Reds are doing what the Reds do. But I think Marte can profile as a right fielder. I don't think this is a big stretch. He looks like he's
got the arm.
He's got the arm for it. He's got the build for it. It's going to take him some time to learn the routes and the reads, and that's okay. But watching him tonight, he never really was out of position. I was watching his jump on the ball. He was getting decent jumps. He was getting good reads. There's going to be times. There's going to be days where we come on here and are like, this is what you get when you put a third baseman in right field. but for the most part, I think he's going to be able to handle his own out there.
I 100% agree. And I think that there's one more question that we have to answer, and it pertains to Ke'Bryan Hayes, but it's not necessarily anything that has to do with wins and losses. We'll answer that question coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue, and so is this hat that I'm wearing. For Reds fans like myself, this one hits the mark. Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you, because no giant logos on Gameday Hue stuff, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. Quite frankly, I love wearing this Gameday hat. It's a Gameday Hue hat. It is so comfortable, very breathable, keeps my head cool, and keeps me looking stylish no matter where I'm going. Plus, got this awesome Gameday Hue golf glove. This thing even smells like a hole-in-one. Check out Gameday Hue today. Right now, you can get 15% off with your code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com and code MLB15.
If you can't watch us here on YouTube, make sure you subscribe in the audio feeds. We're on every single podcasting app that's out there pretty much. If you find one that we're not on and you want us on it, send Jeff a message. He will make it happen. Not only do you get Locked On Reds Monday through Friday, but you also get Tim Daniel after each and every Reds game with his Reds postcast. All right, Jeff, there's a couple more things to talk about here with Ke'Bryan Hayes. There's also a quick note I want to get into about the lineup in tonight's game. How did you feel about the lineup, especially 1 through 4?
I thought it was interesting, the shakeup there. I wondered about Matt McLain. I know here recently he's had a nice surge, but like seeing kind of how he has been playing recently and how they kind of shook up everything, I really enjoy seeing how Terry Francona kind of makes the lineup his thing. Like he understands where guys are in the season and how they've been playing, and he makes the lineup accordingly with that. I had no problem with that. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, they got 9 combined hits between the 3 of them, so I feel like it was a pretty successful night. So
he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But let's get back into Ke'Bryan Hayes. We're talking trade deadline. We're talking the moves that the Reds made. Jeff, your initial thoughts. I think Ke'Bryan Hayes is very likable. I do want to say one thing I don't like right out of the gate is the yellow and black crap has got to go.
Yep.
He was wearing his Pittsburgh. I took this picture from my diamond seats. You can see on his belt there. Those are yellow keys, yellow and black belts for the YouTube folks there. For the audio folks, just got a picture up on the screen that I took at the ballpark. Also, he had Pirates shoes on. So listen, I know that Bob is anti spending the cabbage on the special orders, but let's get Ke'Bryan Hayes a new shoes,
tariffs,
and new belts. Come on,
tariffs. That's what the problem was with this. Yeah, that was hilarious, and that was actually a point on the broadcast where like Jim, John, and Barry were all kind of laughing a little bit on the TV broadcast for this thing. But honestly, I was kind of looking at it like Cringeville. Like, why on earth does the man need to bring his own belt and his own shoes? Like, that seems really Bush League. We're a Major League Baseball team. Get the man his belt and some shoes. That's so silly to me. But
there's very shades of Major League the movie. You know
I was thinking of in the scene in Moneyball when David Justice goes to the soda machine and Miguel Tejada's like, "You got to pay for it here, buddy. Welcome to Oakland." Like,
he's like, "You don't pay for you got to pay for soda? What?" Yeah, no, I think that was a hilarious moment. I'm glad that he homered. I think it's hilarious. I don't expect it very often. I also don't expect him to make very many errors. I think that he is going to be very good here. It's interesting because our Locked On Pirates guy kind of had the tone with me. We were talking about this trade off air, and he kind of had the tone with me. He was like, "It's your problem now." And so I was like, really? Like, that's what we're looking at with him? I don't think it's going to be that way. I think he's going to play well with the Reds.
Yeah, I like this comment from Zero Wave. It says, "We got Brian Case tonight because he's not a homer and he's a defender, and we had an error and a homer from him tonight."
I like that. O'Brien case. I love that. No, that's not what I expect. I expect he's going to be that guy that stays at the bottom of the lineup. And honestly, we just hope that he has a better on base so that he can flip the lineup over, get to the top, and he could be one of the guys on there to help out the rally. Although admittedly, he did kill a rally in the 8th inning whenever he hit a 3-run home run, or at least that's what Barry Larkin has said.
Yeah, that's what Barry says. Yeah.
That was the first thought that I had too, you guys.
That's what we all worked
Oh
through.
my gosh.
It really was.
Let's get into the comments. I know people are champing at the bit.
We've got people, we're leaning into Tim Daniels' old world here of late night Reds. We're coming up on where it is almost exactly midnight right now. Let's get into this comment section. If you guys got questions, if you guys got something you want to talk about, let's just start fresh. I'm not going to scroll back through the chat. Put them in there again. If there's something you want us to answer, if there's something you want us to talk about, we are definitely going to get to him. Mo, I did not see Barry. I only saw Bob down at the ballpark. I see that you ran into him. Did not see him this trip. Let's get into look at that. Tim has a fan. Carter says we need Tim more. Okay. We can make that happen from time to time.
Cramped on the screen here. I gotta
it's a little
fit within this little box.
Tell him to get out of my chair. What do you guys think here? Let's talk about this a little bit. We didn't dig into what has been said about the overall usage very much. What we've heard is that Nick Martinez is going to the bullpen. That's the first thing we heard. Jeff, and I know you wanted to talk about Chase Burns. This is probably a good spot to do that too, because I did hear that is actually under consideration as a possibility, especially when Hunter Green comes back.
Yeah, there's interesting things being said by the Reds president of baseball operations. Nick Krall said that, not all innings and not all pitches are created equal, and that Chase Burns had a lot of easy innings in the minor leagues, and so he doesn't necessarily weight them. And I'm finishing the sentence because he didn't actually say this part on the broadcast, but it's an easy, okay, he said this, so this is what he's talking about. He's not weighting the minor league innings as they're worth as much as the major league innings. So the number that he currently has is a little bit less in their books than it is on a box score. So what that means is they're going to try to maximize his innings. They're going to try to make sure that he's pitching to the end of the season, into the postseason, all that other stuff. And I think that means we will see the David Price rule in effect once ever Hunter Green is back and going every 5th day. To answer the question about Zack Littell, yes, he is going to be a starting pitcher. He has experience doing both, but for the last 2 years now in Tampa Bay, he's been a starter full time. You go back to 2023, that's when he kind of did the Nick Martinez thing and he went in between. But all 3 years combined, 2023 when he was going between the bullpen and the rotation, and then these last 2 years in the rotation full time, he has an ERA under 4 for all 3 seasons. So we're talking about a pretty solid pitcher here. And I know there's a lot of people that immediately belabor the fact that he leads the league in home runs allowed, but I would counter that and say, well, he's really good at walks per 9 as well. He was leading the league. I think somebody has overtaken him there, but he's at 1.4 walks per 9. And that's an amazing stat in and of itself. I think that he does the job of limiting the damage.
I think when you guys talked about this last, I was stuck in an airplane and did not get to have my say about how wrong you both are as far as Chase Burns going to the bullpen. I do not like this. I heard you talk about that it has some flashbacks to Aroldis Chapman. It does a little bit, but different thoughts in my mind. I'm more like, I don't want them disrupting what he's doing. I don't want them to disrupt his routine. I don't want them to disrupt how he's working on things when he's working on things. I want him throwing his starts, throwing his side sessions in between. I don't want him in that bullpen in September and maybe into October when he is going to, one, not tell them the truth if his arm is fatigued. He's not going to do it. He's not going to be before game 2 of a playoff series and go, hey, Tito, you know what? I'm tired. He's not going to do that. This is one of those scenarios where you have to protect athletes from themselves. This is his first year of professional baseball. I want them to let him pitch his innings, and when he runs out of innings, send him packing.
So you'd rather this be a Strasburg than a David Price?
Correct. Absolutely 100%. I think his upside is such that you don't go screwing around with it for any reason. So I am anti this. Now they very well could do it, and he could be lights out, and everybody's gonna be like, "See, Steve, you were overreacting." But it gives me a lot of pause with pitchers' arms this far into just his first year, where he's still trying to manage. We don't know how he recovers from this kind of workload, and it's very easy to say, well, we'll put him in the bullpen and we'll get more innings out of him. But now you're talking about how many times does he get up and warm up? How many times does he get loose and not get in the game? How many times does he get in there after throwing all those warm-up pitches and throw 2 pitches and you're like, oh, well, you can use them again tomorrow? Like, what are the rules you're going to put on him? They've been very good about saying he's going to have an innings limit. We're going to pitch him this many games, and when he's done, he's done. But now that they're in a position to potentially be in a conversation for October, now we're like, oh, but no, see, I don't like that. You had a good plan. You had a good plan for a good reason. Stick to that.
I don't think you're wrong by any means with what you're saying, Stephen. I think you bring up really good points. But I'm going to counter you real quick with just one quick thing. In a playoff game, who would you rather see coming in a game when you really need 3 outs? Chase Burns or like Sam Maul?
Man, that dude's
See, that's not a
I really
fair
like
question.
Darth Maul, and he's just not.
If you take that in a vacuum, of course the answer is Chase Burns. But I would rather watch Chase Burns pitch for the next 5 years.
I don't disagree with that.
Than watch Sam Maul pitch healthy, because they blew out Chase Burns' arm in Game 2 of a wild card series. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a fair question, is what I'm saying.
It's interesting because I don't know that. I take it back. I do know. We won't know the answer to this until years down the road, however they manage him, because I think there's definitely some drawbacks from what happened with David Price. I kind of felt like he was always hyped up to be this like next amazing thing. And he was a good pitcher, but I don't know that he was the next amazing pitcher. Like, nobody thinks of him as like a transcendent talent. They just think of him as a good pitcher. On the converse side of things, they did this with Strasburg. They shut him down, and he had injury problems all of his career. And the one thing that gives me pause about putting him in the bullpen, and the counterpoint that I will agree with you on, is actually a point that I've seen a friend of the show, Carlos Guevara, bring up a couple of different times on social media, and that is that Chase Burns' delivery and the way that he finishes his delivery, his follow-through, is super violent. It's super aggressive. And I almost wonder if being, really excited, trying to think of the word here, the adrenaline flowing, coming out of the bullpen, and then that aggressive delivery, is that going to ratchet up the injury concern? Again, we are talking about a thing that is not easy to analyze because a lot of it's injury stuff. It's really hard to predict. But at the same time, that's where I feel one way and I feel another way, and I don't know that I feel overly strongly enough to argue against either side.
Same.
But I know how I feel as a fan, and in the case that you mentioned, Tim, I would much rather Chase Burns coming in than Sam Maul right now. But again, I also like what Steve said about that too, is that the long-term future of Chase Burns is more paramount with him than what is going on with the team this year.
Yeah, I think that's 100% logical.
Here's a Ty Steve question from Nicholas. Does Tyler need to fix his framing? He's not helping the bullpen, not getting the strike calls on the corners. I think the backup catcher in Trevino is better. Any thought? Trevino's a Gold Glove catcher, and defensively, he is very, very good. I think he came back to earth offensively. We saw his numbers trended back down, and that's why Tyler Stephenson's been getting more and more playing time. Tyler Stephenson has put in countless hours of work to improve his defense behind the plate. It's still a work in progress. He is still getting better. I'll tell you some of the calls lately, and guys, you can weigh in on this. I can't wait for the ABS system to get to Major League Baseball. I am so sick and tired of these umpires and their floating strike zones and their inconsistencies. There was some stuff over the last, 4 games that was just blatant changing of the strike zone during the course of an inning, and during the difference between which team is pitching and which team is hitting. That's got to go. I'm ready for the ABS system. I don't know that all of that falls on Tyler Stephenson. In fact, I think a lot of that falls on the umpires and not Tyler Stephenson. The umpiring this year has been incredibly, incredibly inconsistent, and I am ready for them to do something about it.
I think that there's a point to this, and I agree with the point that the commenter's getting to, because Tyler Stevenson has worked on his framing quite a bit, and he's still bottom 10.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of been where he is. And I feel like defensively, Tyler Stevenson is a passable catcher. And with the bat, he is a really good catcher. And so that's really where his value comes from. And he and Trevino kind of even each other out so well, because Trevino is actually top 20 in the league when it comes to framing. And we know of his prowess behind the plate outside of framing. I mean, other than controlling the running game, but he's really good at blocking the plate and he's really good at framing. That's what we're kind of looking at, the dichotomy of the two guys, where Stevenson's here to hit and Trevino's here to field. I do wish, though, that somehow that could merge a little bit more, because then Stevenson, we would be talking about him doing a lot better. Because honestly, I like Stevenson, but it's hard for me to argue that he's like one of the best catchers in the National League because of his defense. I think that holds him back.
So I agree, but in the conversation of him or Trevino, Stevenson is a higher outs above average and a better pop time.
That's true too. And the run game eludes Jose Trevino. He cannot control it. We've seen a lot of different steals against him this year.
This from Zero Wave, piggybacking on this Tyler Stevenson talk. No rumors around old Tyler Stevenson at the deadline. Is that a good sign or a bad sign? I think it doesn't mean anything at all.
Right.
I think the Reds decided they were going to be buyers. We've talked about that. I think that Tyler Stevenson will be in conversations this offseason. They will go at him with another offer. We know they tried. He basically was like, you're not even close. And that was the end of the conversation. They will try again this offseason. If it becomes clear that they're not going to re-sign him, it would be criminal if they didn't trade him. Under this new system, under the way they say they're going to do things, if they go at him again and he is a hard no, they have to move him between this offseason and the trade deadline of next season. It has to be done.
Let me ask you guys this, and I'm curious, Tim, of your answer first, and then Steve, give me your answer as well, because I feel like the long-term future of Tyler Stevenson's contract is the most important thing this offseason, based on how Noelvi Marte looks the rest of the year in right field. Can Noelvi Marte prove to you the rest of this year that the Reds don't need to go out and make a big splash in the outfield, and that the biggest splash needs to be Tyler Stevenson's contract?
Wow, that's a really good question. I was not prepared for that. It is way too late for these like deep thoughts here, Jeff. Like, you're the one who's done 13 shows in 2 days, and you're asking me questions. I do believe Noelvi Marte, going to what Steve was saying about how he played in general and the few times he's been out there, athleticism is certainly not a concern. Reading the ball really well off the bat from right field so far has not been a concern. I think it's very possible. And I think, too, the fact that he's going to go in there, he's going to have an offseason where he's going to be able to work on this a whole lot more, I think is going to help a lot. So, yes. Is there a world? Yes, for sure. And especially because, like you said, like with Stevenson, we're talking about a guy looking at a Savant page. There's a whole lot of red in the good places on his Savant page. So yeah, when people try, like I've seen the argument where people try to make a play saying he's not part of the future of the Reds. And I think that's silly, because what they're getting from him, imagine what he'd be doing if he was fully healthy this year. He's striking out too much right now, sure, but I love everything else he's doing.
My answer to this is no. There's not a performance he could put up this year that would make me say that. I would need him to do it 2 years in a row. Show me that it's consistent, because we saw what last year looked like. And we know we're not going to rehash all the reasons why it looked like it looked, but it was bad. If he rebounds and has a really good year this year, great. He's got to show it to me again next season. And if he does that, well, now it's a different conversation. Then you can start having those conversations, Jeff. But you got to go into this offseason the same way you've gone into the last 4 freaking off seasons, which is right-handed power hitting outfield bat. That is number 1 on the list until somebody else comes along and changes it. I wanted to get into this next one, guys, because I said this at the game, and I want to say it again here for the masses, as it were. Max says Ashcraft is not working as a middle reliever. What in the world else did you want him to do tonight? He got nothing but ground balls that nobody on the team wanted to catch. Everybody played a rousing chorus of Olay in the infield and had nothing to do. Graham Ashcraft did his job. Unless you want him to play all of the infield positions simultaneously, there was nothing else he could have done to be better in that outing. They have to catch the ball. Had they caught the ball, we'd have been talking about, wow, good outing from Graham Ashcraft. He came in and got things done. What we're talking about is the 16 added defensive outs over at third base. Olayed one. And then Matt McClain didn't want to be left out, so he decided to Olay one. So Graham Ashcraft did his job tonight. Now, he has been at some times inconsistent. And I think that's part of just learning to pitch differently. You pitch different as a reliever versus a starter. I think he's coming along. Has he been the lights out, shut down, 8th inning, potentially 9th inning guy we wanted him to be? No, that's fair. I'll say he's not been that guy. He could still get there. I see him improving. And with some defense behind him, this would have been a good outing. He's moving in the right direction. I'm not worried about Ashcraft all that much yet.
Yeah, I think that if you look at the trends, like the last 7 games don't look very good, and even the last 15, if you look at ERA, which we talk about all the time, you guys mention it all the time. BLN is not earned run average. The whip is decent. The whip is pretty solid. I care far more about what the whip is in that situation as a reliever than I do your ERA. So in his last 15, his whip's 1.57. It's not great, but if you look at his last 7, his whip is 1.86. So I think he just ran into a strain of bad luck, and I think it's going to come around.
I think we know exactly what Graham Ashcraft's going to do the first pitch he throws to each batter. If it's 1-0, buckle up. And if it's 0-1, we're in for a good inning from him. I find it intriguing that he has simply become a 3-out guy. He has gone from a starting pitcher to a 1-inning relief pitcher in 1 year.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought whenever this experiment was beginning at the end of the season, or beginning at the beginning, back in February, that he was going to be a multi-inning guy, something like what Nick Martinez provided for the Reds last year. But anytime they've tried that, it has fallen off the rails super quick. So it's clear to me that he is a 3-out guy. I just don't know, man. Like I think he is better than what we see, and we are able to pick out these specific appearances that are making us not believe in him right now. But ultimately, I think this was kind of that bridge year where he learns the reliever role. And really from here on out, what is he going to turn into? Because Steve, you and I have had this conversation a lot. He is a B group reliever. He is not an A group reliever, but they pitch him like he's an A group reliever. And that's kind of been the biggest pain point for him.
Which is why they're moving Nick Martinez to the bullpen. Don't be surprised if Nick Martinez is an 8th inning guy on this team when they move him to the bullpen. Don't be shocked when you start seeing him in high leverage late inning situations.
Or at least the 7th. I believe in Tony Santillan, but
no, but he can't. They have to stop pitching him. They have to stop pitching Tony Santillan every game. His arm is going to fall off his body. They have to have.
How else is he going to get to 100 appearances in 1 year?
Oh my God. This from Greg. Greg Pearson checks in and says, why isn't Suter used more in high leverage situations? And who burns more calories on the field, Suter or Martinez?
This is an amazing question.
This is great. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to start with the second half of this question. Nick Martinez drives me absolutely crazy when he's pitching. I don't know if it's a ball. I don't even know what a balk is anymore. I don't think the umpires know what a balk is anymore. It is just moving all the time. If I was a hitter, I would lose my mind.
Timing there.
That's okay. Oh, man.
No, I'm with you. I think that, and on top of that, the celebrations and different things and his reactions. I mean, he's so visceral. It's so much fun to watch Nick Martinez. But obviously, I mean, the picture that I used for the thumbnail of this episode was after Brent Suter shut it down in the top of the 9th and kept the game tied, and how excited he was at that. It is so easy. And I think the overall thought that I have on both Suter and Martinez is, man, it's so easy to root for both of these guys. And I'm so glad that they're on our pitching staff. To the point of the question of why Suter doesn't get more high leverage situations, I think it's just because he has a low strikeout rate. He doesn't get the swing and miss that you really want a high leverage reliever to get, but he does such a good job at limiting hard contact, keeping the ball on the ground, and not giving away free passes, that he's the kind of guy that can galvanize a team whenever things aren't necessarily going right. and he can give you 6 outs. And if things are going really well in those 6 outs, maybe he gives you 9 outs. But at the end of the day, I think that's a better role for him moving forward because he's never going to be that swing and miss guy. And that's fine. You don't have to be that guy, and they already have those guys.
I think it's the most effective use of him to sandwich him between 2 flamethrowers, because if you have a guy out there that's throwing hard and you bring in Brent Suter and throw in his 70-mile-an-hour junk ball, and you start screwing with timing, and then you bring in your A group, right? Your setup guy, your closer guy that's throwing heat. Everybody's timing is just all over the place at that point. So I like kind of sandwiching him in there between guys that throw hard. I think that's the best use of him to get the best results from the junk that he throws.
1.07 whip in 15 2/3 innings so far this year. It's pretty freaking impressive.
Base runners do not happen against him. They do not.
Yeah.
I will say, like, there are a couple of games, and they don't happen very often because he does such a great job overall at limiting exit velocity, but there are a couple of games where that 87-mile-an-hour heater gets tagged on Suter, and those are the games that you're just like, this probably isn't why he's pitching in the 8th inning, because at some point he's going to get exposed. But I love the role that Terry Francona has him in now.
Yeah.
Pierre, they're talking about loving the late night of this, guys. I'm just going to go on the record right now and say we are not doing midnight shows that often moving forward. This is
a trade deadline special.
This is a one-off.
Steve is like flying half across the country, like literally flying over islands to get here, and
I think he's flying right now. He's in his.
I'm a little tired,
floating,
guys.
maybe.
I'm hanging in there. Let's get a few more of these in here. Here we go. Lion Richardson, Jeff. He's a head scratcher. What opinions do we have on Lion Richardson? His numbers haven't been bad, but some of his outings have been pretty concerning. I'm not sold on Lion Richardson. I think he's inconsistent enough to give me pause to rely on him.
Yes.
He's the guy you send down, right? Whenever you bring in Littell, or do they? Yeah, no, they have to send somebody down. Yeah, or is it Luis May?
Is it him? Is it Luis May? I mean, that's the question, right?
It's tough because right now, the only thing that Lion Richardson is really good at is keeping the ball on the ground. Everything else, I mean, exit velocity, strikeout rate, walk rate, whiff rate, I mean, everything is in the blue on Baseball Savant. So it's really kind of tough for me to look at that, because that's one of the things that I really try to go to if a guy is struggling. And he's another one, right? Like his ERA says 3.63. And this is where I always tell people, if you're looking at a relief pitcher, look past the ERA. What is everything else? And everything else is telling me he needs more work. And that's kind of the tough part, because he's moved around, right? He was a starter, wasn't good at that, moved into the bullpen. I think he's had some nice games early on this season, and then he started getting overused in high leverage situations, and he got exposed, and he hasn't recovered from that. And so I think he's a quadruple A guy, one of those dudes that you bring him up when you need somebody. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just who he is.
Completely agree with you. I mean, we're looking at a situation now where it looks like you said, like he certainly, when he was pitching really well there for a bit, was pitching over his head and came back down to earth.
Which with relief pitching is definitely possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. I certainly think he has upside to be a good, not middle reliever guy by any means, but maybe he is a good, like, long man. Maybe he could be like a right-handed Brent Suter in the future. Throws a little harder, obviously. But I think that, he needs to get on to Louisville and get a little seasoning going.
A couple more I want to get into. Much like Graham Ashcraft didn't really do very much wrong tonight and paid the consequences. Pierre talking about Emilio Pagan. I don't like closers being used in non-save situations. I know Pagan is going to bounce back strong. Pagan did everything right. It was Rob Manfred's stupid ghost runner rule that cost the Reds this game. Emilio Pagan comes in and gets 3 outs, but it was enough to score a run. And it's ridiculous. This was an amazing baseball game. This is the most fun I've had in a long time down at the ballpark. Just that 8th inning alone. And I think these two teams might still be slugging it out right now, just trading runs, if not for the runner. And I guess that's why Manfred did the stupid thing, but it really just sucked all the air out of the stadium. And it took what was a really fun baseball game and completely deflated it, as only Rob Manfred could do.
Yeah, I think that's nail on the head there, Steve. I completely agree with you.
whenever we ended the squad show recording, which should be up in YouTube feeds and all that stuff here this Friday afternoon.
Did you do another show?
Yeah, I did another show.
Dude, he did everyone else's shows too.
Right. Whenever we got done recording with that was the moment that Ke'Bryan Hayes hit the 3-run home run, and I was like, hang on a minute. And while I was sitting here talking with everybody and waiting on the things to process and getting ready to download and all that other stuff, that's when they got up to 8. And I'm like, it ain't happening. This is too good. It's too good. And then Steer hits the home run, and I had to get up, and I didn't want to yell on the microphone and blow out, other hosts' ears with that because I was so excited. And I'm just bummed that they didn't seal the deal and they didn't get that win. But it is much better than had they had just laid down. That's one of those cases, right? Like, would you rather lose in a horrible walk-off fashion, or would you rather get blown out? And typically, you say you'd rather get blown out because at least you can disengage at some point. But in this case, I really love this game. As much as I hate the fact that the Reds lost, I love how they came back. And I think it just shows that you cannot quit on this team. And they are going to be there. I'm saying 87 wins until I'm proven wrong.
Laura Ann in the chat had asked about when Zack Littell was going to pitch and then answered her own question. 8-5 looks like going to make his Reds debut. This for Mo, and this is one we haven't really talked about a lot, Jeff. We focused in on Chase Burns and his inning limit and what do you do with Chase Burns. Mo is asking, what about Nick Lodolo and a career high in starts? At some point, does Nick Lodolo run out of innings this year?
We talked about this a little bit last night, kind of touched on this for a second. Yeah, I don't think he does because, one, he's been outstanding, and two, you're kind of looking at a little bit of situation where this is a guy who's in his, 4th big league season. It's kind of almost like a now or never situation for him.
I think that, I think that this is the year you just let him keep going. And he's had 3 seasons under his belt, albeit they've all been shortened for one reason or another. This is one season where things are not getting shortened for him. And he's got over 4 WAR right now. Like, I think he's got a shot to get over 5. And we're talking about a dude that's really going to be pushing the rest of this rotation for years to come now because they figured out whatever it is. I get it. There was a couple of starts ago, he was looking at his finger and we found out it's that second skin stuff. And that's what he was kind of messing with. He didn't actually have a blister. So they figured out a solution to the blister problem for him. And he's able to actually throw his curveball that he is so good at getting guys to swing over top of. And with that curveball, he is an elite starting pitcher. I mean, right now with a 3.09 ERA, I just find it really hard to sit here and say that there's going to be a point that they shut him down. I think they're just going to let him go.
I do too. Steve frozen.
And it looks like Steve is really, he's deep in pensive thought right now. Actually, it looks a little bit, no, that the frozen picture, I would say he is very excited. And I think the reason that he is very excited is that he saw this comment. And I think that it should be.
Is this our send off?
Let's see. Laura Ann, Goonies never say die. There we go. That was the comment that he was looking at. Laura Ann, really appreciate the way that you ended the show with us here, and we'll say good night and thank you for joining us here on this live show. It's been fun. It's been a long 48 hours. A lot of great news with this Reds team. Again, I want to close it by saying I think that the Reds are better. I think that the deadline was good. It could have been great. Wasn't great. It was good. But it's better than what could have been the alternative, and much better than 2023. And I'm very happy with where the Reds are right now. Thank you so much for joining us here on this live show. Tim, appreciate you joining us here.
Always.
This trade deadline recap live show. And thank you to everybody who participated in the comments section. Make sure that you're subscribed. If you got this long, if you got an hour into a live show and you're not subscribed to the feed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you've got all the content that we've got coming for you every day with Steve and myself and with Tim on the Reds Postcast live at the end of every ball game and in your audio feed shortly thereafter, because we are Locked On Reds. every single day.
What do you rank Goonies in your all-time favorite movies?
I'd say it's top 20. I got to be honest. There's a lot of movies that are ahead of it, but it is a very good movie.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And now I will go sleep and not look at a screen for a long time.
I'll see you in Bristol, buddy.
Yeah, baby. Raise hail and praise the hail.